Seats of power. Places where the leaders of today's world meet to govern and protect their countries. But in the medieval world of Europe, there was another seat of power. The castle. For thousands of years, people all over the world built fortresses for protection. In Europe, in the Middle Ages, people first rebuilt old fortifications left by the Roman army. Then they built their own strongholds on high places where they could see the enemy approach. These were the very first castles, wooden forts built in a structure called the motte and bailey. A motte is a mound. The bailey is the outer wooden wall of the structure. But wooden castles were easy to burn to the ground or break down with battering rams. So people began reinforcing wooden castles with stone. Over the years, castles became grander structures. They were designed mainly as military fortifications, often protected by a moat and a drawbridge. But castles also had to be places to live and work. The central building of the castle was called the keep. There was a great hall for public life and dining, a kitchen and storeroom, chapel and school, bedrooms, toilet, plus barracks for horses and workplaces. The two worlds, within the castle and outside the castle, tell us a great deal about life in the Middle Ages. Castle life was for the privileged, while the villages, farms and towns outside were for the commoners. For noble and peasant alike, war was a constant fact of life during the Middle Ages, and life was hard. People married early, as young as 12 for girls and 14 for boys, and they died early, on average by the age of 40. Raids and pitched battles by warring factions were a constant danger as people went about their daily lives. In those perilous times, the castle offered protection to the local villagers and farmers who would take refuge behind the castle walls. So the castle became a symbol of power. Nobles began building larger and stronger and more elaborate castles. And by the 12th century, castles stretched across the British Isles and throughout Europe, from present-day Scandinavia to Spain and Italy. The word castle comes from an old Latin word for fort, castrum. The Spanish word stays similar to the English, castillo, but it is the German word for castle, burg, that gives us another secret to the castle's success. In Germany alone, during the Middle Ages, there were over 10,000 castles. That is in a country a little larger than the state of New Mexico. If you look at a map of Germany today, you will see hundreds of towns and cities with burg at the end. Augsburg, Hamburg. This tells us that each of these places grew up around a castle. All of these places flourished because of the protection offered by their castles. Today, there are castles numbering in the thousands throughout Europe. You can visit many of them as a tourist. This is Salzburg Castle in the Austrian city of Salzburg. This castle dates from 1077 and is still standing after over 900 years. Europe's largest, fully preserved castle. Medieval castles throughout Europe have very different histories and stories to tell. This castle, Chepstow Castle, stands on a cliff guarding the border between England and Wales. Like many castles, Chepstow was built in stages, beginning with a small structure in 1067 and eventually growing into a powerful stronghold that played an important role throughout the Middle Ages. This castle is in Romania, in Eastern Europe, in an area called Transylvania, a place associated with tales of Count Dracula. Bran Castle began as a wooden castle. Over the years it was rebuilt in stone and became a castle of legends. If there is one castle in the world that is still a seat of power, it is Windsor Castle, home to the British monarchy. Windsor Castle is famous because for over 900 years it has been an official residence of the kings and queens of England. William the Conqueror began the building of Windsor in 1070, 4 years after he invaded England. Although Britain is run by a parliamentary government, the royal family still play a symbolic role in ruling the country. Tourists visit Windsor, but it is also a working castle. And it is enormous, covering nearly 13 acres, the largest inhabited castle in the world. Today, we are still inspired by the romance and history of castles. They offer us a glimpse into the medieval world. The castle was the fortress and the refuge of that world, and remains a symbol of power today.